ever since FPVCycle has been taking off more and more, I've kind of stopped reviewing everything there is out there. And I still work with a couple companies to develop some things, and sometimes I just talk to some companies and give them something and see what they do with it. So Mamba is one of the few companies that I actually really like, and they do a great job putting things together in general. Their electronics are okay for the most part. They're not 100% reliable, and they'll even admit to that, but they're not bad. And so this design here, this is my Power Pick design, and the reason it's called the Power Pick is because it's not intended to be super duper ultra light. It's actually intended to have a good deal of power in it, and so the frame itself is a lot more robust than you might expect from something that's like a toothpick quote unquote style build, which is just super skinny and super frail. And the base of the design is not unlike the TP3 or the Toothpick 3 in the sense that it has that same kind of interlocking of the arms inside of it underneath. It only has one screw in the middle here. And this is my version of the frame. This is the one that you get when you get it from FPVCycle right now. And this top half was just the throw-in. It was just, I need something to go on top, and it's just real quick, threw it together. I intended it to be some sort of a print or some sort of a some kind of canopy-ish, but then a little bit later I came up with a better way to solve the whole camera mounting problem completely, to keep the weight down and keep the durability high, because this thing is, again, designed to take some real performance. And if you look at the version that I have back here, this version has the 2203 motors on it. This is the 5-inch version, and these are really old DAL 4-inch props, which are actually not very good. They used to be good back in the day, but they're not very good. So overall, the 2203 motor is a real monster on this thing, and really makes the thing a rocket. But DIatone has decided to go with an 1804 motor. And so this is where it kind of gets a little fun, because the people at DIatone, they're not dumb. They actually know what they're doing. They put together some really nice things. And so I gave them this base design, and I wanted to see what they did with it. And I said, you know, go ahead, you can use my frame, you can use the design for whatever. This design was really just intended to exist because of the demand. It really wasn't intended to become any kind of a platform. And so this is what they came up with. Let's take a close look at how they put it together. So first of all, they actually changed the design a little bit. The whole lower plate is a little bit smaller, a little bit different. The holes are actually compatible. So if you happen to get this, you can get spare parts from FPVCycle or from anywhere else that might carry it. And the difference is that the bottom plate has these holes in it for the 20 by 20 mounting screws, which they decided to put square on the frame instead of in the diamond shape that I had originally put, which is maybe an improvement, because now you can actually access the USB port. I didn't really consider that when I was putting things together. So the way I intended this to be built was with a all-in-one board. So this is actually the Mamba. Yeah, this is the Mamba toothpick board in there. And that allows you, this is a really nasty build, so I'm so sorry, but that allows you to move the camera lower down on the stack, and allows you to just reduce the overall height of the build and compress the overall weight distribution a little bit more. Not that the weight on top here with the little canopy and whatnot is so much, but it does help a little bit. And I'm going to talk a little bit more about the flight performance and everything when I fly it right now, but just to show you the overall stature of the quad, it's basically my design. They did make a printed canopy for it, which does look really nice. I'm actually curious as to why they chose not to use it, which is really surprising. And they say that they went with the separated stack here because they found that it's more reliable than their all-in-one board. Their all-in-one board is going to be at least 5-6 grams lighter than this thing, and I think my VTX is already broken as well. No offense to DIatone, this is just something that is really hard to do quality control on, and I think that I'll probably have to stop flying pretty soon because my VTX is going to crap out on me. So this is an 850 milliamp 4S battery, which is appropriate for the 3650 kV motors. These are 1404 motors. 1404 motors. Okay, I called them 1804 before. They're very, very small motors, and the thing weighs 225 grams all weight. If you put like a 2200 milliamp 3S or 4S battery on this thing, it's going to fly for 25 minutes probably. Let's keep going. Whoa. very jumpy. I had to cut out the audio because the wind noise was absolutely atrocious. I'm so sorry. I actually like this video recording format because I feel like it kind of engages the viewer a little bit more, and you hear the quad, which I think it's really important. And I don't know why the GoPro was picking up the wind noise. Anyways, let's move on to the quad. So let's talk about the motors first. These are 1404 motors, and to me that's a pretty small motor for a 4-inch quad. But Mamba motors in general tend to be more powerful than any other motor in their general size class, or most other motors in their general size class. I think part of that is because they seem to have a little bit more kV on them than they may say they do. This is a 36, it says it's a 3650 kV motor, but it definitely feels like a little bit more kV. Now, even though it's a powerful 1404, I still consider it a 1404, which means that if it was a 1504, it would definitely be better on a 4-inch prop. Like the size of the motor dictates the performance first. Sure, the construction and the magnets and everything matter as well, but it's really hard to make a motor that's bigger perform worse than a motor that's smaller and maybe great construction. But it's just, I hope that makes sense. Anyways, moving on. The motor is pretty small. I would consider this a 3-inch, high-powered 3-inch motor. Not even a high-powered 3-inch motor, just like a basic 3-inch motor. To me, I think 2203, 2204, 1806, these are much better sizes for 4-inch. And what you sacrifice is control. You sacrifice control performance by going to a smaller motor. And maybe that's to save weight, maybe that's for some other feature that you're looking for, but in my eyes, at least in my preference, the reason we fly these things is because they're fun to fly, because they have fantastic control, and you want to have that really fine, nimble control. And so you can see me flying, it's not like it's performing poorly by any standards, but you could have better control with a motor that's a little bit more substantial that can manage the prop a little bit better. Now, this is the Gemfan 4023 prop, which I think is a fantastic prop, especially in the 4-inch class, because most 4-inch props, almost any other 4-inch prop in the 4-inch class, is a much higher load prop, and it's a lot more powerful. So one thing that you might have a hard time noticing is that this quad is extremely powerful, and I put 4S on it, and for the kV that's on the motor, I actually think 3S is a much better fit for this quad. On 4S, you're either going to need to run a really big battery like an 1100 or a 1300 milliamp battery just to keep this thing on the floor. It's really hard to control the throttle. Now, at the end of this video, you see me zipping through underneath the trees, and yeah, I'm not having that difficult of a time controlling it, but I assure you that it is really, really difficult to modulate the throttle so that this thing isn't rocketing up to the sky. But overall, you see that it's flying really well. It's flying totally fine. I'm kind of exaggerating things a little bit. To somebody that's a novice or an intermediate, they're probably not going to feel that much difference between a 1404 and a 2203 on a 4-inch quad. For anybody that's a little bit more experienced, it's going to be very evident to you that the larger motor is going to handle everything a lot more. But this is a totally fine quad. I mean, if you're looking for something like this, this will hold up to actual use, which means that you can change the arms. It's not a super weak quad, like a super weak frame. It's, as you can see, it's got plenty of camera protection, and it's suitable to be used, not to be just a shelf ornament, which is what I kind of tend to design my things for. Now, I, again, don't know why DIatone chose not to use their printed canopy that they have already designed. I do have a minor revision of the camera mounting system, which I'm going to give them and see what they do with it. But overall, I actually enjoy seeing what DIatone does with some of the things that I give them. They're a pretty respectful company for the most, I mean, as respectful as a company overseas could possibly be, and they really work with the community. They're like a good group of people, and I really enjoy the things that they do with anything that I give them. So kudos to them. Kudos to them. Thanks for watching. Floss your teeth, and see you later. Bye.